Hi, welcome to another Podcasty. We talked about patch, we talked about a lot of things in the meta was going on and stuff. So I enjoyed the episode.
Oh yeah, surely there's a lot of really big impactful changes in the patch, Copium.
Yeah, I
Surely
mean,
Copium.
Nerfs, especially.
I'm not gonna sit here and say that like the patch was the most impactful thing in the world, but it did distinctly improve things. So,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay, but there were like two meaningful nerfs, and like if the patch was literally just those two meaningful nerfs, I don't think anything would have changed. It's just like
yeah,
you hit Siren Song and you hit Kaisa, bro, you saved us. But
Also,
also,
monkeys, right? Like Face Samurai was arguably a very good deck.
yeah, monkeys.
yeah, it's pretty good.
I mean, coin like matters, but I definitely think
Oh
that
yeah,
is.
it does matter actually.
I definitely think that is more of a hollow victory than people think. Though I do think you'll stop seeing Karma set and like be so
Just like,
pervasive.
give him a week, man. Give him a week. Let him cope. Don't tell him Karma's still good.
I don't think it actually changed the power level very much, but I do think it moved it across the line to like becoming a dubious tournament deck again.
So I think a really big thing is that I don't know. Are we live? I have no idea.
We are live, but no one's really here yet. So
I do think a big thing is that it nerfs like your defensive turn 10. Because like it used to be like Karma with the defensive turn 10 just like wins the fucking game.
yeah.
But now you can open attack into her and like maybe
And like it's not like turn 10, it's like also like turn 11, right? Like you can just open attack into them. Sure, like especially on the turn 10 it matters the most, but it's definitely a very powerful thing though.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it does affect some games. Like the nerf definitely matters, but I feel like these games where like Karma got to turn 10 and Karma won the game are pretty rare. It's more that like your opponent wasn't dead on turn 9 and you had no realistic chance of ever getting lethal, and like, yeah, Karma like killed you, but like you lost the game 3 turns ago, so.
Yeah, but it's set leveled on 8, right? Let's be honest, like very often these games were like, oh my god, Karma won me the game. But let's be real, like it was set with creating the showstopper on turn 8 and just killing your opponent.
it nuked the Ornn and half the board, and he won you the game on turn
8. If I wanted to be the most negative on Karma set that I think I could be, it's that set P and Z is gonna drop Karma and play something else. And like set P and Z will be fine.
Which I can see that though.
It requires there to be a playable champion within those. It could be Seraphine actually.
It could be no champ. You could just mono set. I mean, you'd probably play Karma if you got nothing. But...
Maybe Seraphine though. Like long
okay.
curve.
I'm gonna brew after this. Remind me. Yeah, I don't know. I think that it matters. I think it gives you like windows of like interaction, and like it also gives people like, you know, people are gonna fuck up. I was watching Majin. Majin literally griefed earlier by like just jamming his set without coining first, and his set just like died, and he didn't get to like flip it or get the showstopper.
Well,
like,
people are gonna get used to that though. Like, let's be honest. Like, that's like sure that's gonna make it like issue because they are so used to the gameplay that they're used to, right?
Yeah,
like, it's gonna change now. The sequences especially. I also made so many mistakes today. I was playing like a lot of coin decks, and I was like, oh, I guess I should have coined first because yeah, I cannot now answer my opponent, and I didn't flip my check or something like that. Then yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely matters. Like, I don't want to try and argue that the coin nerf just changes nothing, but I just feel like if Karma stops being playable, it's going to be more due to like other changes than it is the coin nerf. And I felt like Karma was always like this kind of it wasn't a good deck by a huge margin. It was a good deck, but it was because it was beating specific things and had like specific matchups, and it was very easy for Karma to just like become terrible. Where like if people just swap to a bunch of Aatrox, you're like, there's nothing I can do. My deck isn't like doing something super dumb, super proactive, and just killing you on 5. My deck is sitting here and being like, I have good answers to what's being played right now. And
yeah. But also, like, the meta actually currently got better for Karma. So, like, we have, like, Elviswen, we have Jack's Own. Like, actually, I think the Karma is much more happier to play the field that it's playing now. As it's playing into the sort of the Neeko decks. That, like, you know, they're taking some time. So, like, turn 8, sure, it's very discreet, but you can just stun, record the overwhelm units, and, like, you are fine with that, right? Like, yeah. So...
I think the meta could be fine for it. It kind of depends on where we land. Because if we're landing on like Aatrox shit, like that's not good. But I think that like Ornn's definitely playable. You know, Alawi's playable. A lot of these bad decks though beat us. Like, you know, Poro King shit beats us. Neeko shit beats us. Like these matchups are fucking rough.
Yeah. It's
And like
playing
even like historically, Jace Heimer's like a free matchup. Stats wise, right now it's like very even.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that comes down to like them having more like opportunity to like interact with you. But
Yeah, I mean, also with the brash unit, whatever that one is, like
yeah,
the
scrap traption.
yeah, that one. I feel like Jace Hammer has done a much better job of just like being the aggressor when it needs to be, where it can just like attack you. Which the old version was like much worse at, because like if it wanted to apply pressure early, like uh we're not joking ourselves, like Pharaoh's Financier isn't applying any pressure, but like you had to like cast an early production surge and like a bunch of X1s. It was easy for someone to just clean it up, and then like maybe you play a Hextech Handler after, but it was like difficult for you to get the ball rolling with aggression. And now you can just like 6/6 brash turn 3, go face.
Exactly the control matchups there. Like you sometimes you just play the production, so you get 1/6 elusive, and opponent just like mystic shot. They were like, oh, like,
Yeah.
And now what happened? You just summon 6/6 and like, okay, I didn't gonna hex split it now. They're gonna deny it, but like finally it's been getting bug fixed. I'm actually so happy about that. But
that was a frustrating bug. And I also find it pretty bizarre of like, how did that bug occur? I'm just like curious, because like it's not like a dev like intentionally screwed up and put a bug into the game, but like Hex Splitterator was working completely normally. We didn't change anything about obliteration, and suddenly it's not. Like, very confusing.
maybe just
how it
playing
happened.
with the class. Maybe it was maybe I don't know if they were maybe thinking about like making it different, maybe buffing, nerfing. I don't know. Like maybe that's something when you're playing maybe with the class. We don't know what's gonna get released, so maybe there's something. Maybe that's gonna make even a hex bit better or something. It's very hard to say, but I think that's can definitely make it. And like I don't know, then the code just can change and yeah. So maybe they're
Yeah.
just making the code better. Like it was spaghetti code, they wanted to make better, and it just doesn't work then.
Okay, so as far as like other changes,
Mhm.
thank God Siren Song got like shot in the head. But that said, I've seen some Reddit posts, I've seen some Twitter posts. People are cooking. Do we think that like is Evelyn dead? Is our Husks dead? Is Siren Song actually dead?
Yeah.
So
Like I think 6 mana is too just expensive. Like I think it's that.
I do think Siren Song is pretty dead. Especially like when you start talking about like these more all-in Siren Song stacks. I think you have to be playing Husks to justify Siren Song ever. And I don't think the card is particularly good. I think these decks could play a copy or two. I mean, like something like Evelyn Lucian, like Dawn Speaker was a pretty mopey card already that like was important for your scaling, but like I was not happy to have Dawn Speaker in my deck. I can imagine that deck being like, I don't like either of these cards, but Siren Song is a little more reliable. I think people can still play some number of Siren Songs, but I don't think you're sitting here being like, how do I play Siren Song? You're sitting here like, scaling, it's fine. It's a late game.
You don't play it turn 3. Like you don't play it turn 3. Like you never play it turn 3 because like if you play it turn 3, it's just there. Yeah.
So Siren Song is gone. Do we think that any of the Siren Song decks stick around? Because like Reaver's Row has really showed up as like just a fucking insane card, right?
Lucian
And like,
Ellie.
are we gonna see like CS Reaver's Row? Are we gonna see Moonlight Affliction Reaver's Row? Can either of these survive?
I think Lucian Ellie. If there's like deck, but then I'm like asking, isn't just codes better? It's the same regions. But maybe it's something. I think like LoE CS is definitely something that has, I think, a lot of potential. We found out how powerful it is, and like LoE CS deck might be something to discover.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So I don't know if like a Reaver's Row is gonna stick around, because we've seen these decks that like show up all the time. And like Siren Song is like another one of these decks where it's like, I have this like hyper broken card that I'm just trying to draw every game. The like classic historic example was like, there were so many decks that were auction on 2 and I'm playing a tier 0 deck, no auction on 2, and my deck is dog shit. Like
Actually,
just unplayably bad. And like those decks can't be really good because you just don't draw this card every game. If you have something like Timelines where it had that property, but like your deck was passable without Timelines, or like you had a really good way to go find it, where you like start talking like Targon Lee Sin, that's just like, okay, I didn't find Lee Sin, but I'm just gonna stall the game until Lee Sin shows up. You can have a viable deck, but in my opinion, like if you are building around a specific card, unless you have a way to find this card reliably, or you have a backup copy that maybe is different, your deck just isn't good. And I felt like Reaver's Row might be good, but you can't build around it because there's no Siren Song anymore, or like no good Siren Song.
I think that makes a lot of sense because like even if we say that like Fizz Siren Song, because a lot of Fizz Siren Song hands were just like Reaver's Row, Moonlight Affliction, and like that's
Yeah.
your whole game, and that was enough. But like I do think it's fair to say like now then Reaver's Row is your Siren Song, and if you don't draw it, like you're just what's your deck doing?
Yeah.
I think that's super fair.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible that we see like a Reaver's Row deck eventually. Like the card has clearly shown itself to be better than we were thinking, but I think it needs something like Siren Song. I mean, hopefully they don't print like Siren Song V2 that's just the same card again, but like it needs something to justify like playing 18, 21 one drops because that's what these decks were doing. And like we've seen people play 18 or 21 one drop decks before without Reaver's Row and without Siren Song, and those decks like terrible after like turn 3 because they spew a bunch of cards into play and they're like, did I win? Yes? No? So I don't think these decks are going to be viable, but you can definitely lose them on ladder. Like you can definitely lose to these Siren Song decks that are like, I drew the good half of my deck that didn't include Siren Song. And you're like, oh, fuck.
And that's why I said
I know, like,
later
before-
Siren Song is decent, right? Like 10-5, 10-6 Siren Song, it's like justifiable, but just the issue like that like early Siren Song is just so bad because she's gonna die to opponent's aggression.
And like before Siren Song, the best like Reaver's Row deck was the Aatrox deck.
Mhm.
Like, do we think that the Aatrox deck like does it see a resurgence of like play just because like Reaver's Row are like this is a really good card? Like it still does a strong. I have an issue. Maybe it's just me. I don't beat this deck on ladder. I lose this
Okay.
deck on ladder every single time I queue into it. I don't know if the deck's good, but goddamn, I don't beat it.
So my opinion on that deck was it was pretty atrocious pre-Siren Song, and it seemed fair with Siren Song. So when you go to like you don't have busted Siren Song anymore, I'm going back to my old opinion of this deck is just terrible. But I mean it definitely is the best Reaver's Row deck historically, but like I would be more interested in trying to just say like, can we play like Lucian Alawi with Reaver's Row and no Siren Song? Because I felt like that deck had a real backup plan of just the like curve out Alawi draw of like idle into whatever the 3-drop is called. Like idle into 3-drop into Alawi, and that's like very good. So
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. Like the CS one being the one with the most win conditions, the most cards that say
yeah.
I win on it, like it could be the one that survives. But then, it is a question of like, should we just be playing scouts? Which scouts was like, I think, this last weekend a very strong deck, but coming into this meta, like it seems very unlikely to me that scouts is gonna be able to stick around in a world of Orange, just fucking getting buffs for some reason.
The Ornn catching a stray buff is a little wild, because Ornn wasn't even bad. Like Ornn was hanging with Siren Song. I think it was pretty easy to say that he wasn't as good as Siren Song, but like he was hanging. You could play Jax Ornn. It was fine.
I feel like you're underselling it. Ornn was really fucking good. Ornn was really good.
Like it was fighting with the Siren Song, like sure. It was like it was better than third Siren Song deck very often. I just decided for that for example myself. Like I think okay, I'm having 2 Siren Song decks, but the third is not that good, so I'm gonna just play Jackson,
And Jax Ornn had Game of the Siren Song. It was beating like a lot of the CS decks. It's beating a lot of control decks. It's just kind of like beating ass. It doesn't lose the aggro. Like Jax Ornn just like seems like it's positioned pretty well and catching a buff. I don't know how much of the Saurian you played, but this card's like really fucking good, I think.
Well, I got like swamped with work right as patch hit, so I've actually played very little post patch, which is pretty sad because I think it's going to be a lot better than pre patch. But when like I saw Saurian getting buffed, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try this like Warden of the Tribes deck because like I'm interested in like playing Glacial Saurian Warden of the Tribes. And I just played it pre-patch and it went pretty well. So I was like a little spooked if like I can just play this deck pre 2 significant buffs and it's fine. But Saurian is a very good card.
Yeah, it's like there was a question what Fabio to play in Jackstone. I think it's completely like we know what now
Yeah.
with the buff. I think it just makes sense with the A drop now. That like it's so good as well with it. So because the overwhelm is very good with them, of course. But yeah, it's kind of strange to see this buff, but as we have to be adding on these patch notes because like there was the vacation stuff and they also have to be sending them earlier, right? So like it was very hard maybe to further to maybe catch this that it's gonna happen.
Yeah, admittedly, like I feel like cards like Glacial Saurian, if Glacial Saurian is the card that is like clearly overpowered or whatever, I think LOR is in a good spot if that's the type of card that's too strong or whatever. Because like the card is basically saying like, hey, I want you to like be pushing for like board control for turns 5, 6, and 7, because if you're trying to kill people earlier than that, what are you doing playing Glacial Saurian? And we're not playing like just stall out game plans. It has overwhelm, it's trying to kill your opponent. And so I feel like if Glacial Saurian is like too good, the game's probably pretty enjoyable. You can probably play a variety of speeds, and it's probably reasonably healthy. Jax Ornn, I mean, stuff like Jax on 2 with the Weapon Master getting forged. Not my favorite play pattern. Buried in Ice, not my favorite play pattern. I think there's reasons to complain about Jax Ornn, but like, I feel like Glacial Saurian is like the type of card that I would like to be good. So,
yeah.
I think that Saurian is like really breathed life into a lot of different archetypes. Like obviously it's good in Jax Ornn, but like I've been playing Astral Blanc with this, and like this card's pretty fucking hot. It's really nice.
Yeah. It's fun on a draw card. Like it's a good card. Like I like
it. Draws a card, it applies pressure. It's a really good target for like buffs. You know, if you're playing like Omen Hawk or something and it hits this card, like you're really happy. Yeah.
I like the so we kind of saw it with like Bandle City release, where there were a bunch of cards with this condition of like, have you created a card? Which was just fake. Like you just never saw a Hidden Pathways that wasn't active. You never saw a Tenor of Terror that wasn't active. Like these cards just didn't actually have a condition. Glacial Saurian, I think, is hitting the sweet spot of like, it's not a hard condition, but you do actually have to do it. Like Jax Ornn doesn't care because it has so many Weapon Masters, but like you can play it in most Failure decks, but you do have to think about playing subtypes, which I think is like a nice place for these conditional cards to be.
So like in Ash, I've been playing Omen Hawk. I've been playing the 3-drop Weapon Master, and then like you randomly get dogs because like I was playing some of the wolf cards. But like, yeah, there are definitely times where you're like a little bit sad that this card isn't getting its draw because you know you lost all your units early.
Yeah, it could have been like if you've had a subtype this game and you're like, okay, that's a fake condition. Like, that one's impossible to not meet. But I really like Glacial Saurian as of right now. I mean, maybe I'll mold in 2 weeks or something, but for now, happy about it.
I will say, like, Saurian, you know, it's whatever. I like the card. It's fine. I think it's a little bit sus that Jax Ornn got a buff, but sure. Warden of the Tribes is a card and a half. That card puts a lot of fucking stats on board fast.
I think there were a lot of people that found out post-patch that Warden of the Tribes is grant, not give. They just keep them.
Not just it's grant, not give, but that Warden of the Tribes buffs itself and has overwhelm. This card has overwhelm.
Yeah, I had no clue. When I played for the first time, I was like, okay, I'm buffing my butt, and I'm like, okay, why is it so big? Like,
there was I had multiple games. I was playing a bunch of Warden of the Tribes pre-patch. There was multiple games where people would be like, champion strength, and I'd be like, Warden of the Tribes, and they're like, okay, I can't attack, pass, and then my board would just stay like 12 power, and they just concede, and it's like, you just learned that this card is grant, like. But that thing is
definitely
huge.
like Warden to like condense Wardens, like a little fucked up. A little bit. I mean, at some point it's too many stats. And the mirrors with this deck are just really stupid. But this card, like, it seems like it has potential. I'm not gonna come out here and tell you that like Warden's broken, but like I think that Warden's a strong enough card that like, you know, 8 mana, like it should be hitting something.
I think Warden's actually broken. I'm gonna be honest. I think Warden's actually broken. I think the issue is the decks that it is in. Like, I think that's most of the issue. Like, the decks are not that strong.
Yeah, I was before, you know, before patch, people are like, bro, Neeko's really bad. And I'm like, no, Neeko's not that bad. If you draw Neeko, it's like fine. And like, but now that I'm playing it, like, okay, Neeko is bad. Neeko just has no spells. It's like opting into a deck with like no interaction. So like the Warden deck doesn't run Neeko. it's like a Vandal deck with like Gnar or Nora or something like that. Or I think you might be able to play it in like Demacia or something.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's just don't play Neeko.
I
Yeah,
feel
Nico's
like
so bad.
I feel like the thing that needs to be done with Warden of the Tribes to figure out like how this deck is good is finding the right deck. Because like I think it's pretty clear that like you play a smattering of subtypes, you play Warden of the Tribes, it's like +4/+4 at minimum. That's like the fail case of you play Warden of the Tribes. It's pretty hard to have it smaller than that by turn 8. And like that's frequently game winning. If you just play this thing +4/+4 your board and like just kill your opponent. And sometimes you get like up to +7. I imagine there are decks that can get it even higher to like +8, +9. Those just kill your opponent. And like the solution is trying to fix the bad situations where like what happens when like my opponent is playing hard control and they just like ruination me when I play Warden of the Tribes. And I think the development of the deck at this point is how do we solve specific critical problems with the deck, not what is my dumb thing to be doing? Because Warden of the Tribes pretty fucking dumb. Like,
Yeah.
card is large.
To the
It's a
Neeko
little-
thing, yeah, like I was building the Neeko decks, like especially the Pharaoh one. I was like, okay, I have Neeko deck. I play 6 spells, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this is not it. Like,
I literally started just like cutting units. I'm like, okay, we're jamming in Buried Knights, we're jamming in Three Sisters, we're jamming in Elixir. I need cards that do
Yeah.
things, please, dear God.
yeah.
Like, yeah, I can't stand like these low interaction decks because like I play low interaction and then my opponent plays an Ava Achiever and I'm like, oh, I guess I lose the game
Yeah.
because I can't interact with that
Well,
card.
opponent plays Heimer, and they're like, I guess I'll lose.
Yeah. I wasn't like so when I was like messing around with Warden of the Tribes, I had this like just constant feeling that I felt like I was just playing worse Jack Zorn, which mostly came from interaction, where it's like fish fight and the like challenger spell, like very good interaction for your like Freljord mid-range deck. I could not find a solution that made me like comfortable playing Warden of the Tribes, but it probably exists somewhere. I just don't know the regions. Like the Warden of the Tribes concept like exists almost entirely in Freljord. Like you want to be playing Omenhawk, you want to be playing Saurian, and you want to be playing Warden of the Tribes, and like that's kind of it that you like need to be playing. You probably play Gnar, but like all that's in Freljord. You can do whatever you want from there on. Condense is cool with Warden of the Tribes. Is that really necessary? I don't know.
Condensed a little bit silly. I think it might be Demacia. I think you might just like play some other units. You get elites, you get some birds,
Yeah.
and then like you just get interaction, right? You get to run single combat, you get to run fish fight if you want to,
Yeah.
and you're just playing like a mid range deck that like has draw now because of Saurian, and then like you just warden people, and like you accept that Ruination's not a beatable card. I think that's the direction you go.
Yeah. Buried in Ice and Ruination. I guess Buried in Ice is more like that,
Yeah,
right? Like
the fact that there's like
Ruination.
Buried in Ice, Ruination, and like even some. I mean, I don't know how much this is going to survive post Siren Song. I don't know how much it should have existed pre Siren Song nerf. But like, there's the Senna Castigate nonsense. I did not understand the point of that deck to begin with because like people are sitting there saying like, oh, you have Senna and Castigate for like Siren Song, and it's like they play like 5 Hushes. Like,
well, so it didn't beat the Fizz deck. Like the Fizz deck was copium, and like it probably didn't beat the Evelyn deck. It did beat Alawi.
Okay.
Alawi.
I don't know. I just like have this like visceral gut reaction. People are like, we're beating Siren Song. And it's like, okay, so the 2 best Siren Songs decks, like, it just doesn't work. Like,
Moonlight Affliction's 2 OP, bro. You don't beat that.
Yeah.
It would be one thing if like these decks played like 1 Targonian Telstones. You're like, I just accept getting Hush. But it was like, they just have 5. Like, they're going to have one.
Yeah, I guess it's just Sunburst, still Senna, like 10-5, like.
Yeah. I think that Buried Nice isn't like that big of an issue for Warden because oftentimes like you can survive one swing as long as you don't Warden on your offensive turn. If you Warden on offensive turn, you're probably dying. If you have to Warden on a defensive turn, and like you're probably fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ruin's just like probably not a beatable card. I think Warden like it has something though. It's something.
There might be an argument for like the Demacia version. If you made the Demacia version such that like you're playing a Demacia deck that had typically beats these Ruination decks, where like Scouts comes to mind, where like the Scout shell like didn't really care about Ruination, even though it like looks good against the deck. The way the like games would always play out, like Scouts just kind of killed you or lost before Ruination was relevant. And like, yeah, your card Warden of the Tribes gets countered by Ruination, but with access to Demacia, you might be able to build the deck such that like your deck doesn't care about Ruination. So
Be like Fane Quinn or something.
yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, they'll like
Yeah.
Vayne, sometimes Ornn, sometimes J4. They'll like, I associate them with Americanas, who's a particular player, but like this is just like Demacia, Freljord mid-range soup that we've seen semi-frequently.
Yeah, I can see that, but I'm just wondering, isn't just CS better though than Warden then? It's going to Tenseller.
Could play both.
Yeah, that's what something I might be thinking about. Like you can play maybe like 2 of each or something like that. I don't know. It's weird. It's definitely some cool game. But I think there's like default attack Warden that's gonna be like good. I don't think we have it yet that much. Even though I think some definitely so potential, especially the now ones do see. I hate the Neeko. I hate the Neeko so bad, but the now one seems definitely have some potential. But yeah, that's it. I would say.
Yeah, Neeko, I feel like she's just weak. She isn't really worth it. So
I think
some spells. That's like issue of like these Runeterra champions. It's always they don't have spells. Jax was so bad. He got spells.
yeah.
Holy, he became so good. You know, Evelyn didn't have spells. He got silence. I guess okay, that's a silence. I guess that's not fair, but yeah, spells are so necessary.
Yeah, the good ones are like, even like Kayn and like Varus, right? They're good because they have spells as well. Like you need something. Because like Neeko just like doesn't have enough without it. And like I don't think Neeko as a card is bad. I think Neeko as a card is like fine. I think there's some good cards in her package, but you need some spells. You need something to help.
Yeah, I mean, it just like always seemed to this issue where like the main like flavors of Neeko previously, now we have like a little bit more exploration going on, so it's hard to say. It was like Freljord, and Freljord had this problem of like you got great units. I mean, they got better now, but like incredible units. You have no ability to interact. Like it's not even something like these like Bandle City, Warden of the Tribes decks where like you're kind of choosing to not interact. Like you got nothing. Like, what are you gonna do? Play Three Sisters as your interaction, and your opponent plays a Heimerdinger, and you're like, Entomb. Like, what are we doing here? There's like no choice but to just like accept that if your opponent plays something dumb, you lose. Demacia had this different problem where it was like, you've got champion strength, but like you kind of can't justify single combat. You definitely can't play fish fight. What are we doing here? And you go to other regions for interaction, like, I don't know, you play SI for Vengeance and Quietus. Well, now you don't have units, so you're fucked in a different way. And it's like, there's no escaping this because the like Neeko region is missing both this like champion strength award in the tribes card and removal. So you're just like, I guess I go to Demacia for champion strength and single combat, and I'm really unhappy about playing single combat.
Yeah. Speaking of other champions though, Poro King got a buff. Aurora Borealis, 5 mana. I've ran into a couple SI Poro decks that kind of have made me miserable. I don't know how much you guys have seen this stuff. How do we feel about Poro King now? Is he fixed? Is he good?
Like he's better. But he was so bad at like you know.
I feel like Poro King is in the right spot. He's not good, but like if we made Poro King actually good, he would no longer be the cool meme card. So like we probably shouldn't make him good. It's like the Sundisk problem. Like there were so many people who loved Sundisk. I would bet at least one of the two of you liked Sundisk prior to it being good. And now that it was good once, it is just forever on the shit list.
No, I fuck Sundisk, but I agree. I don't think Poro King should ever be good. This card will be obnoxious as hell. It never runs out of cards. It's literally impossible to run out of cards as a Poro King. Yeah, no, I'm cool with it literally never being good, but
yeah, definitely. It's gonna be miserable so much if it's gonna be meta.
One thing that's really nice about Borealis though is that like it used to be if you float Borealis on 3, you burn your top deck. Now if you float Borealis on 3, you can play a Poro, and then you don't burn your top deck. So it's actually it's a pretty good buff.
Yeah, it's a bar, but like I said, like I don't perking to will be good. I was saying that a lot of times, but they were saying on the dev stream that they might see more buffs, and I'm like, yeah, sure, but carefully, guys. Come on, like don't do second Sundays. Like we don't need that many buffs.
Unmissed Rise. I feel like there's some things that are just better left untouched forever, maybe.
I mean, so Rise, I think, was a little bit of a different case because it wasn't this beloved meme by the community. But like
I think
Sundays,
that it was. I think that people thought that Majin was a fucking hero for playing Rise, and like I think that a lot of people were like, "Oh my god, Rise is so dog shit that he's now my favorite card. I just want to see Rise do something." And then Rise became good. It's like, "Oh my god, I never want to see Rise again in my life."
yeah, I feel like there's a lot of people who don't really understand that like the reason they enjoy these decks is because they're bad, and if they were ever good, you would stop liking them. So
yeah, no, I would be much happier living in a world without any buffs to Poro King.
What about the last champion that got no buffs at all? Nidalee. I'm kind of surprised. Honestly, I think Nidalee is the best by far out of them. But I think she maybe could have seen, especially the ambush. I think like Nidalee is good as a card, maybe itself, but like the ambush package just feels underwhelming. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I'm kind of surprised that nothing so buff.
I feel like Nidalee's like fine as a card, but she just feels clunky to play. Like you want to like play her out early and then transform her so she can start like leveling and seeing other units. But like then once you flip her, you can't really flip her again because you just used all your units. And it also means you can't really curve out early because if you use your units early, then you can't flip Nidalee. And then like it just feels weird. And at every single point, I'm like, damn, I wish this card was Sivir instead. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I like understand the like justification for only letting you have one bush. I don't think it's going well. Like stuff like the deny unit, like good luck playing the deny unit in an ambush deck because you like try and sit on deny and you're like just cannot play bushes. Just not allowed to play bushes anymore.
Sure, my opponent's gonna play Pythos. Okay, Pythos. I guess I have to deny that. Like, you know.
I do understand the justification. Brian Koplek gave me justification on Twitter. I just think it's not going well. So
I think it just feels a little bit awkward right now. But that said, like at the end of the day, Nidalee's just like mid-range beatdown and like has some good value units. The 2-drop that like grants vulnerable, I think that card's really good. I think that the deny unit's like pretty good, but more outside of the archetype. I even think like Tycoon is really good. Like I think that there are good cards within this archetype, and I think that we're not that far away from like Nidalee being really solid. But
Nidalee now has decent winner, by the way.
So
I think like 55% winner has Nidalee now. Like I guess that's decent.
I would actually definitely agree that like Nidalee is fine. On power level, I don't think she's egregiously bad or anything. I just think she's unsatisfying. Like the deck just doesn't really do what it's sold as doing. Like one of the main reasons they like sold ambush was like this bluffing experience where you attack with the bush and like both players are sitting there like, is it a bluff? Is it a double bluff? Like everybody's sweating on whether or not this block happens, which like actually sounds pretty cool. And I'd just like ask you, how frequently does that happen to you? Because I feel like every time my opponent puts down a bush, I know what it is. Or like I find out that turn where they're like, it's a pocket cub. Of course I flip it up because it has fearsome and it connects. And you're like, wow. Or the like vulnerable guy that just flips up immediately because you flip him up for free. So why not? And it's just like this bluffing experience that is like the selling point of the package just isn't happening. So like it's just Shurima mid-range units, which are fine, but what is the story being told by this package? And just play my 5/3 quick attack with it.
I hear you. It does feel like that. It feels like you should have to be more worried about like it being like a pack of cub versus something else. like so often that just like isn't something you have to worry about. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, to be fair though, I think that like, if Absolver were in standard, Nidalee would like literally just be in a really good deck. There would just be like a really good Nidalee deck.
I guess
Right. Like
Nidalee.
from a power level standpoint, like she's not that far off.
I think
Yeah.
I saw like Nidalee Echo's still decent, but like always I'm like sick if Ching's just not better. I think Nidalee Echo's decent. And they have like some Nidalee decks that maybe shows up permanents, but she's just not fair as set, satisfying, and the ambush package just feels weird to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the cards are like fine. I think you'll see Pack-a-Cub if there's like ever a reasonable Shurima mid-range deck. Like I think people will just play Pack-a-Cub because that card's like pretty good on turn 2. You play it, your opponent doesn't play a fearsome blocker. Great value. Nidalee's like definitely serviceable as a card. But I just
honestly, I think its biggest issue is that it has no health buffs. There's like no health buffs in Shurima. Like you could just shoot everything. Like Pack-a-Club having 2 health, like who gives a shit? Like I don't know. It's just yeah.
You're
I think
pro
if you could make your units just like a little bit more sturdy, it would probably be Prowl buffs health. Prowl doesn't buff Pack-a-Cub's health. It only buffs the Bush's health, which like you just
so
yeah. I don't know. It's
But
awesome.
yeah. ambush unit. What it was like bush units, What about that? Like that movie may be too good, I guess, but I don't know.
What do you mean?
Like if it was like, that you can play it on like bush, or you can play it on maybe something that was transfer or something.
Oh, like
I don't know.
a
Are you trying to say that you want them to have 1 mana sharp sight if it's on a transform card? Is that what you're saying by it?
I'm getting
so
flashbacks.
You just want Roji to win worlds. Like, okay, yeah, if you want Roji to win worlds, fuck it.
I'm getting flashbacks to Samira and All Out, where like you tried to kill Samira and it was just never happening because she would play like she'd just go up to 6 power or something. I mean, I remember a game very clearly in my mind. It was against Fitz, where like I attack with a 3/3 challenging his Samira, and his Samira ends up in an 11/11. And I wisely challenged with my Jagged Butcher because I needed all 11 power of that Jagged Butcher. And you're like, this is fucked up. Like,
Okay, maybe not. Okay, this is
I like where your head's at, though. I see where you're going.
Okay, but let's be honest. Like that's my thinking a bit better thinking. I think like honestly, I think shared should be. We have like an issue with this expansion. Like we don't have that many new things because we knew them from the last meta, especially I think me and Aikado because we played so long the ages. What about if we just releasing busted champions? Let's say I don't mind it. I think like for example Summer, even though she was so busted, she was creating so many funny decks. I think like Summer Pantheon, Summer Phase was fun to play. Like of course it was they were maybe too good. And even like we didn't find a Summer version. That was maybe the interesting thing. We were finding this best Summer deck to play. And like I think it's just maybe like releasing the cards just better than they maybe should be. It just should be the thing because it's just making the game more interesting in my opinion.
The same with
Seraphine, the same with Wayne, I think. Like
I hear you, and I probably don't disagree. Like I enjoy like higher powered formats and like newer cards that are like higher powered. You're not like Siren Song, but as long as you're like interesting cards. But at the same time, like, isn't the whole point of like standard that like they don't want to power creep every single card in the entire game, and like they kind of want other cards to have a spotlight, and they want Ornn to be playable.
I can see it, but like release with in mind that like you can nerf it, but like you just make the meta interesting, make the Giga shake up and have one open with maybe very strong champion. And if the champion is just too strong, then just people can just decide to ban it in the tournament. Like that's the thing as well, because it's a champion, you can just ban it and not play against it ever in tournament.
I think a lot of people get frustrated by like that type of thing where it's like, oh well, what new champion? I guess we're playing that month. We're playing Sona month. Sona came out, so that's the most broken champion now. I think a lot of people get a little tired by that sort of thing.
I mean,
But
I think I can understand the like general selling point of trying to make like interesting cards that are like worth trying to build around, because like I guess like for a good example, if Siren Song was less of a miserable experience, I felt like that exploration would be the type of thing that people would have enjoyed, where it's like, oh, we could play like Siren Song with Evelyn. That's like really obvious. We could play Siren Song with Fizz and Targon. okay, we can play Siren Song with Lucian and Alawi. And like, I felt like that is what like is enjoyable about these strong cards. It just turned out with Siren Song that like this card was fucking miserable. So
Mhm.
everyone
I
hated it.
genuinely think if Siren Song wasn't attached to the Husk package, it would have been like fine. But the fact that it summoned a Husk every single time was just salt in the wound, and it just pissed me off every time.
But like,
like the spell shield, the impact, man, like spell shield and impact, they're for the same power level, right?
Oh,
Let's be honest.
surely they're the same, exactly the same.
hey, I do have a salt story from Evelyn where my opponent won the game because they rolled impact 3 times in a row, and it was the only keyword that would have killed me. So I don't want to hear anybody compare impact to spell shield and say that spell shield is better, because if they had rolled spell shield, they would have lost.
I don't know, man. It's just Husks are just such a frustrating experience that I think any good card attached with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate Hate Spike. Do I hate Hate Spike because it's strong? Probably not. I hate Spike because of the fucking Husk that comes off of it.
Yeah, there's definitely, I don't remember who this one is again, but there's like a game burned into my mind where I was playing like some P&Z control deck. So I'm like trying to kill stuff with damage-based removal, and I'm playing against like Heimer Nora or something. And they cast a hate spike, killing something, and it just hits tough and immediately plays Nora. And I'm like, oh, I'm just fucked.
It's just unkillable for the rest of the game. It just happens like, I don't know if it happens, super often, but goddamn do I notice it happens when it happens, and it just pisses
You
me
remember
off.
these things, though? Like, it doesn't happen that often, but like you remember when like your opponent gets spell shoot into Vega and we're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
like
It's like the Nora, Nora's good RNG copium, until like they hit fucking Soothsayer, and it's like, oh my god, I hate this shit.
Yeah, the one that I was compared to is like back when Seraphine was super good. People would always complain like Seraphine generated a buff spell. Like Pale Cascade was the only thing that could have saved her. It's like Transfusion, Sharp Sight, Inner Beast. Like, how many of these things do I have to list where it's like, this wasn't the only thing that could have saved her? But when you're dealing with RNG from a wide pool, you can always just delude yourself into thinking they hit like exactly what they needed. And like the example I point to is like, do you remember like people playing Lunari Priestess occasionally in Targon? And it's just like so tilting when they would hit like Great Beyond. You're like, of course they hit Great Beyond. And it's like the Destroyer, the Immortal Fire, maybe the Scourge, the Great Beyond, Living Legends, maybe the Traveler. Like, how many of these cards were you beating? Because I bet it wasn't many. And it's like,
man,
you can just convince yourself that it was like, it was the only hit. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was like several. I mean, sometimes it's like Seraphine generates like a syncopation. It's like, okay, that is actually the only card like that in the pool. But
okay, Boomer, you're acting like the Great
Boomer.
Beyond has won a fucking game in the last 3 years. Come on.
Good old times when people were asking to never create Pyramid because it's too good. Remove the spell shoot.
There's probably a tweet from me about Great Beyond because that card was too good.
Like,
I will go on record.
I remember the days, you Great Beyond and then you Atro him, and it's like, that was my game plan. That was the whole game. The good old days.
It was actually, man, that Targon SI deck was so based though. I think that was like, hard deck. I would say, like, it was hard deck.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, you played the Mountain Square, right, as well. Like, I enjoyed that a lot. That was like good.
Speaking of Targon, 2-mana Hush. That brings Targon back, right? Control Targon is back on the menu. We're invoking our way to the finals.
The most positive thing on this entire patch for Targon Control was that the devs specifically said that Targon Control is not doing too hot. So we now have confirmation that they are aware that Targon Control sucks ass.
Actually true, dude. Holy.
Because like the issue, like it's like we need a Morgana, man. Like, because like we don't have champion for Targon. Like, what is the Targon control champion?
You can play Asol and look at him in your hand while you lose.
Okay. You can play
Targon's best champion is Seraphine. Seraphine's her
no, you can be Roach and play the new 12 mana card, the
Age
know,
of Dragons.
and
I mean,
it's cool.
Oh, Age
I
of
don't think
Dragon.
Age of Dragons is that bad, but like this card ain't a Targon card. This is a Freljord card.
The thing with Age of Dragons is that the fucking I don't know what the card's called. The bomb
Oh,
card.
Infinite Mind Splitter, yeah.
That card's annoying as fuck. I hate that fucking
Yeah.
card.
Dude, so you were around for this. I don't know if you ever experienced it though. Did you ever see Lee Sin, like Lee Sin Zoe, like play Lee Sin and then like get Mind Splat? Because they had no outs. They just lost.
I remember when I was trying to get into the competitive scene, I was looking up like videos. I watched a tournament where like, okay, we're actually teching in Infinite Mind Splitter to beat Lee Sin. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
The outplay from Lee Sin say was hush your Lee Sin, suicide him and play new one.
Yeah, it was so bad. It was great. It was like one of the greatest tournament techs of all time was Infinite Mind Splitter, just like randomly just beating Lee Sin.
Did
Straight
people
up.
just like not realize that like Homecoming was a card yet, or like
Homecoming
it
was
was-
5 mana and dog shit.
yeah.
Like you just weren't
It was
allowed
so
to play it.
Also, Veil was 5 mana, so like you couldn't play these things actually. And like it was like tech, it wasn't like actual Medica, but it was so bad they didn't matter, so you
Yeah.
couldn't play these vehicles actually. I still remember one game when I was playing against Trolls. At BB created from the Lysander and the the airdrop, the clog hand. He created the stun, the Targon stun, and I lost in top 32 season because of it, and I hate him still because of it. So yeah.
No,
I
I
mean-
think that Age of Dragons like is closer to being good than a lot of people want to give it credit for, because it does like the stupid uninteractive like ramp, play a big thing, and
Mhm.
like if you can't deal with it, like you can't deal with it.
It's just like even
Yeah.
that next turn after it, right? Let's be honest.
I mean, it's a ramp payoff where like it's a 12 mana spell that says something roughly analogous to you win the game, and like that card really isn't too bad.
But it's harder than like FTR. Like it's much harder for FTR, for example. Like
The main thing I think I think Age of Dragons may or may not be better or worse than FTR, but it's in the wrong region. FTR was in the ramp region, so like it's always going to be the best ramp payoff because it was very close to you win the game and you didn't have to splash for it. If you were
I
allowed
think
to play
the
like
other- I was just gonna say the other issue with Age of Dragons is it kind of like makes you play bad cards. Like FTR,
Yeah,
you get to play
yeah.
Trundle, you get to play some pretty solid things, but we're out here playing fucking I don't even know what Eclipse Dragon and Asol and yeah.
I mean, Eclipse Dragon and Asol like isn't the worst thing for a ramp thing. The really dubious part is you have to start playing like these random 4 and 5 mana dragons just to like have your Age of Dragons be good enough. And like the empowered 5 overwhelm dragon, Celestial Wyvern, I think. That one ain't good.
yeah.
Our card's so good. It's like a 2/5, right?
It's a 3/5. 3/5. Fury.
Oh, okay.
Also,
throw
when
that-
we play like younger, we play the new hash, man. The 2-mana hash is scary, especially I think when we get to Eternal, or if we get the Morgana, like I don't know what's gonna be the next Targon champion, but I guess we assume Morgana, we might see like it's the Tailstones. So, like let's be honest, Targon Tailstones from the worst to the best in like
Yeah.
months, let's
It's
be
gotten a lot of improvements, but yeah. I don't know, like Hush in the world of Jack Zorn, like you guys have probably had the experience where like someone hushes something and it just doesn't change. Like the card is like +6/+6 in overwhelm and you hush it and none of those things go away.
It's not that bad into like Orlando. Like you can hush
Yeah.
them before he attacks, or hush the unit that he creates. So
It's not
it's
bad, but like when units
it's not good.
there are a lot of units that just like keep their keywords and keep their stats into your hush and you're like, what is the point of this card?
There are a lot of times where like I'm sitting with a Moonlight Affliction in hand and they attack in and that's like wow I'm still fucking dead. I'm hushing like this Jax and it doesn't matter, and I'm hushing like this Warden, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Like
but I'm fan of this buff. I think it's definitely good and it can help Targon counter in the future.
Yeah, I like it. I just don't think it's gonna do a whole lot. So.
But I saw like people like being, oh my god, hush, and like, no, you're not
Yeah,
gonna
I
see it. Like
Hush hasn't been good in so long. Like I look at it and I remembered the old days where Hush was really good. Back in the Lee Sin days. And now I look at it and I'm like, this card doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I have buff idea. What about if Hush, creates fleeting copy of itself?
Bro, my Ezreal, I'll OTK people if you give me that.
Yeah,
I
that was
will
Ezreal
absolutely.
failed. There was actually Ezreal. I remember the Targon Ezreal, man. That was so stupid. You did nothing, and then just you used the Hush 4 times and just leveled Ezreal. That was so funny.
Sounds based. Real quick then though, Bilge buffs. Jack has healing now. Angel just refunds half your mana. And then Jack spell got nerfed. So how do we feel about that?
It's a buff. Come on, stop acting that's a
No,
nerf, man.
it's
3
such a
damage is
fucking nerf.
so much, man. 3 damage is so much. It's gonna echo now. It's how,
Okay,
of course,
Bro,
in some spots
hold
it's a
up.
nerf, but
If
it's a
it
buff
fizzles for that
mostly.
time, you're so fucked.
So I would agree that it got nerfed. However, I would agree it got nerfed because the coins changed to focus, and I think you're just not allowed to play this card.
I can see
But
that.
I do think with old coin the card got buffed. But I think
Until you throw it at a unit and they like glimpse it or something, and you're like, oh, I guess I just lose the game. I
Did you
played
play
4
Claims?
thing.
Did you play it against the Pro deck or what? Claims? Would us use Claims?
Bro, bro, they'll fucking Mystic Shot their own unit and they go up mana. Like, I don't what do you mean? They'll do anything.
Just use it on 3-health unit then, because you can now do 3 unit, take
Yeah,
your damage.
they buff it once and it's like, okay, well, that was 4 mana.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I don't know. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
it's weird. It's weird, but I think it's over buff. But other coins differ. I do agree with this. So that like overall, like every coin you need actually got nerfed. A good point. That yeah, maybe that's a good way how to phrase it. That like everything that creating coins has got nerfed by the change of coin.
I don't know. In all of my time playing Jack, I felt like it was almost impossible to play Jack as a champion. You can play him as a follower. He is good in like Seraphine Jack. But like, I feel like this fantasy of like this mid-range Jack deck just like is never gonna happen because like
Yeah.
you need draw. The deck just cannot draw cards to save its life. And like, what are you gonna do? You can play like P and Z for like formula, but like you're just gonna play Seraphine Jack.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely
So-
agree with you. Like, it's a cool buff. I like it, but yeah, once again, it's just a follower. Jack's set is doing so poor. I think it even got worse winner than it had in the past. By the way, like the winner got even worse after these buffs. I was building the Tristana Jack, like the Tristana Bilge, and you were like, "Man, I think you should be playing Tipper now." And I was like, "No, trust. It's Tipper Jack. I'm taking Tipper now already."
yeah.
Like, okay, I think that Jack set was doomed for its win rate to go down because like Sunny made a build on it. I don't think it's necessarily the right build, but like it's just reaching like such a massive like audience that like the win rate's always going to go down.
But it's
But
so
I think
bad
that
though.
like Boat is just like a good card right now, right? And I think that like maybe set Jack, like Jack with Boat, like when you start prize fighting multiple times and then you heal him up, like it does pretty silly things. Yeah, I do agree. You run out of like things to spend your mana on. I was playing into Skathis, and Skathis was running Avatar the Tides. I don't know if that's necessarily the tech, but I think that there could be something there. It can't be as bad as like a 30%. It's not a 30% win rate deck.
It's
Like,
not that
let's
bad. I mean,
not.
There's a Jack deck. There's definitely a Jack deck. I think, especially this Angel deck. I think Angel is better than Jack. Right? I think Angel's like creating like absolutely insane amount of counts. And like I'm currently using it, for example, Tristana Bilgewater. I think like both plus coins is so good, and that's why I think Jack decks and like overall this coin deck is gonna go, because both is such a good, because you want that mana. You want that mana for the more units on the same turn, as well you want that mana for more prize fights that turn. And I think that's the way how to go. We saw already some Nora Jack that's using the boat. I'm playing the Tristana now with like Angel and both. So I think that's the way. If we want to be using the coins, I think this is the way.
yeah,
I think Angel's just a little. Oh, go ahead.
I definitely think you can play like Angel. Angel seems good to me. I think you could probably play Risky Venture in something. I just feel like this deck of like Jack coin followers try and do something just like doesn't really come together. Like
Yeah,
you can play his parts.
is not working. Yeah,
Yeah, you can play his parts in other decks. You could play like the Pocket Picker as a 2/1 with extra value, but like this Jack coin deck just doesn't exist. So
I think Angel seems like a crazy card, but I was playing like Samira Jack, And like, I don't know, that deck just like seems so dog.
It doesn't have way to win. Like, okay, that's some magic don't beat that. But I think like especially with things like Nora or like Bando Commando, you can open attack on 5, play the Angel, getting the coins for the 10-7. I think that's something that I think seems very powerful to me.
It just feels really bad if you spend your whole turn to like play this like 5/5 brash and you don't get to attack with it, right? Like
Yeah,
you
I can
already
see
spent
that.
your token.
You can also
Uh,
like base the enemy face and then play hit, right? Like that's also decent. But...
yeah. Like if you can proc it, like Angel's like a big fucking card. It's a big card that has a good evasive keyword and it refunds itself. Like this card has to be good.
If we had
It just
Ping City, I'd be interested in this card in Ping City. That sounds
Ooh, I
great.
don't know.
Unfortunately, they like rotated half of that deck, so you can't play that deck.
Yeah, but definitely
just
might be an Eternal.
it's
But
just
I think there's something special. I do believe that this with the exactly bundle build, I think there's something.
I
yeah, I
like
could see
I like trying to get Angel into play pre-combat, because if you like plunder Angel pre-combat and then like I don't know, do something else afterwards, like that sounds good. But
Yeah.
if we're just like
I definitely had a game where I, like double angeled on turn 5, which like felt cool. But I still lost that game, so I don't know, man.
Yeah, but yeah, especially with like now playing the Winter Stana, like Podcasty also activate an Angel. I think that's something I said. But the decks that we have currently with Jack, I don't think in it. Like every time I just playing Jack, I was playing today 5 hours of Jack. I was playing Jack decks. I was playing like Jack Swain, these thingies. I was like always okay. Whatever if I play this game, because like I had like 7 like especially with the Jack set, I had like 10 coins, and I was like, okay, I have 10 coins, but I have nothing to play. So like sure, I have 10 coins, but what I'm supposed to use
What if
it
they
on?
put like 6 draw spells in these decks? Like
then
double
you
eye, double
You already
salvage.
play, I think.
then you
And
just die early. Like the
I
problem
just
is like
die.
you have to. There is no draw that you can justify playing. You need like what you need is cards like Conchologists, where like you can play these and continue getting cards that you can just like keep having cards flowing. You can't like spend 5 mana on a draw spell because then your deck isn't working.
We need
Um,
Zap. That's what
Zap would work. Yeah, Zap would be a very good card for the deck. It needs like cards that replace themselves more than like just a pure draw spell. I mean, like maybe like a Progress Day effect would like justify it, where like it single-handedly would fix your card draw problem, but that doesn't really
Like,
exist. So
feels like Knuckle should be a good card.
Knuckle is a good card. I played a lot of Jack set. Knuckle's great, but it's like hard because you want to like maintain Knuckle until later in the game where you can get Bull, because Bull is so strong.
Yeah.
But
I
you
know.
And it's so weird also with the mana, with like how it works, that you need to be playing the Knuckle third drop, and then you have to usually coin in to play the 6th drop. So like it's like yeah, then you cannot play like a set. Even also play like it needs to like this Jack maybe or the like set, and like yeah, it's just weird, especially with the
With
Jack
Angel,
set.
can we can just like Knuckle on 7, can't we? It's Angel.
So the problem for Knuckle on 7 is you actually have to have a 5 coin minimum.
It's
Yeah,
doable.
that's
We
like
have
that's,
Angel, right? Like
that's actually like really easy, isn't it?
If you have Angel. So the problem is
Well,
like
yeah, you have to proc Angel. If you proc Angel,
also perk Angel, right? That is also an issue. Like especially with when I was playing my Jack set, I was like, man, I'm not perking this Angel. I have no way how to do that. Okay, I have Jack open attack sometimes, but that's the only thing I can do. Like.
you know.
like I don't think it's impossible, but like this deck just has this problem and like nothing's been solved about it. Like it needs card flow and there's like no way of solving that. But
Is there a way to cheat cards out of your hand?
cheat cards out? Like get a card from your
Wait.
hand into play for cheap?
Yeah.
Not really. And not in standard. They rotated almost every way.
Can we? Is stress testing still in the game?
No.
Oh, that's a bummer. If we could stress testing Bowl and just like condense it over and over, that's 3 regions. It'd be iterative. We'd have to iterative it. Okay. Well, maybe in Eternal we'll find the Mako Bowl Knuckle deck.
Yeah, but it just doesn't seem super. But so I think the bundle is only way how to use Jack, but
What about Swindlers then? Are we now that like what about these new cards that came out that we never got to play because Siren Song? Is there anything you guys want to try out? Anything super strong that you want to
Sweden
What?
that was using with Sansa with the Jinx, but it was like Jinx. That was like day one deck though. It like pop up, like it got bad very early, but not really. I would say I'm not like interested in some new cards honestly. I'm gonna be honest.
Here's a good card. But like it's just a Nora thing. It's not like we're building around or anything. Um, I feel like there were other good cards that came out. Maybe Copium.
Frankly, not really. The patch, we're still in this. Like Poro King cards aren't really real. Ingvar isn't really a real card. I mean, Glacial Saurian's good now.
Broken. They're so
Um,
broken.
Yeah, when people were like in grass so
Cowrick?
good.
Maybe we can make Cowrix work.
Calrix.
I'm scrutinizing Sergeant, but like the issue is you're just a small mid-range deck, and then Jack's Orin World.
Yeah, I mean, some of these cards like aren't terrible, but like got All-Seeing Oracle. That one's pretty good.
Oh wait, Tristana has to be broken. This fucking Ferocious Fluffs card is broken as shit.
Why am I not? Why am I not just like CSing?
Well, I'm not CS because
Because
just playing both. Okay, tell me this is better than both or CS. Justify it.
wait, what?
CS or both? Isn't it just better cards?
No, because this is just like we can condense this card. It says Grant on it. It's broken. CS doesn't say Grant. Do you know that?
Oh my god. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say Tristana's broken because Scrutinizing Sergeant and/or Crested Lionhawk, which does actually sound like an argument to me. But like, we've seen this deck
yeah,
before. So
yeah, no, the Demacia one, yeah, it's. I think you could definitely play Demacia Trist, and like I think that's like a super reasonable deck.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's like, I don't think the cards are like weak. I just feel like we're not seeing. There's like nothing new.
The
and
issue is the broken card is Sump Monument, right?
I don't even know if that one's broken, but like
Fuck someone amount, man. Holy
related
shit.
to Sump Monument, how do we feel about the unironic Daring Poro deck?
I would feel better if you didn't look at that deck. You know,
Let's skip it. Let's stop talking now. And
I
like,
feel
so,
like if we could just like
how do
click
we
off of this
how do
deck,
we
that
feel
would-
how do we feel about Targon being the elusive bullshit region? Because that's what Targon's been doing. You can have Demacia 2.0 and you can have elusive bullshit. That is Targon.
I don't know, man. Like this, fuck Sump Monument, man. Sump Monument is a mistake as a card, man. This card never
Sump
should get
Monument's
printed.
really fucking cringe. It's so fucking cringe.
I don't think the card is particularly good. I will also say that card is dumb.
I think that the issue is that these elusive decks have been bad in the past because like you just kill them, but now you can't kill them.
Yeah.
So it's like
We just play Sump Monument, and I attacked them today, and I shuffled like I shuffled 200 mushrooms. So I was like dealing 50 damage, right? And they just next turn took 8, and I died. I was like,
Sump Monument is very silly. So
it's just it's really cringe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this deck's broken or not. I just know that it's ultra fucking.
it's beatable. Like it's issue of the deck. It's like it's definitely beatable. Issue is like it's so like you play some decks, you play like Jackson or you play like these decks, and you're like I cannot win. Like there's no way I can win.
Can't
Like,
play the game.
it's just like
this is
so. Yeah.
You used to be able to just outrace these decks, right? Like they're playing like they're playing stupid shit. You just outrace them or something. But like now.
it used to be with these like all-in elusive decks where if you two were two trains passing the night, you were just trying to kill them as fast as possible and they were trying to kill you as fast as possible, you just beat them because like they were paying
bigger shit.
Yeah, you were paying like a stat premium to get elusive on all your units. Where like if you don't want your opponent to block, you don't get as good units, which is like sort of true. Where like, yeah, Teemo is like a worse statted unit than like Kennen or Fizz or whatever, or like Acorn and Daring Poros aren't particularly good cards. But there's this like funny card called Purifying Flames that is just like way too good. And like you play Purifying Flames and your opponent just kind of loses. Because like, what do you take? Like 5 + 2, so take 7 this turn. You're taking at least 7 next turn, and I have a bunch of mana to develop. So you just die.
I have Baron as well, I have Baron.
I think the other thing is that like you just at some point they could just draw into burn. I It's actually so cringe, dude. I don't know. I don't know.
Deck is very silly. I also think like
the thing is, so like before, PuffCap RNG wasn't that big of a deal because the person who had to deal with it was the person who like opted into playing PuffCap RNG, right? You had to bring PuffCap RNG into the game, and then you accept I'm playing Teemo. Sometimes it's gonna high roll, sometimes it's gonna low roll. Now you're forcing your opponent to have to deal with
Yeah.
fucking PuffCap RNG, and like sometimes they draw 18, and sometimes they draw 7, and it's like fuck me, I didn't get to play the game. I guess it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
I am not the biggest fan of Sump Monument. I think it's pretty silly, but I think like this deck, Targon Elusives, because we're gonna see it in Eternal again. The deck's still good there.
Yeah,
Zoe?
really good in Eternal.
I think there's
Zoe
like
with new skin?
yeah, I think there's two things that like really heighten the frustration. First of all, it's elusive bullshit, which nobody likes. And then second off, like people still like cling to this idea of what Targon is, and it's like Targon isn't that. Targon control has been dead for like a year and a half. So like you get your Pantheons and you get your Teemos, and like that's Targon. So
Targon is just stats. It's just mid-range and elusive bullshit. Like that's it.
Someone needs to get. Man, I'm scared of Eternal. Why did you say? Oh no, man. Someone needs to get hit with for Eternal. Or we're gonna lose it. Like the Zoe, they're gonna be much better.
Dude, I'm telling you that like Ezreal Seraphine is gonna be broken as shit when you can't fucking kill them. Like I think there's gonna be a lot of broken shit with Sump Monument.
Yeah, you're gonna play like you're gonna have like double barrel, and you're gonna then play 1 mana Sun Monument. And next turn you're gonna be just in Monument, and it's just gonna kill them first.
Remember when you used to kill people on turn 6? Now I Sump Monument on 6, and then I bar on 7, and then I kill you on 8. And it's like good fucking luck.
Yeah, this just kind of like destroying the issue of the decks that they should be having, right? Like the issues like they are just dying because they play 7 mana bar, right? Opponent plays 7 mana bar. I guess I can kill him, but I cannot now because they play 7 Monument.
I genuinely feel like stuff like Aatrox just isn't going to beat Ezreal anymore. Like it used to be a bad matchup, but like they were exact easing you like every single time on like turn 7, turn 8. I just don't think it's gonna be a bad matchup anymore. I think it's just gonna be a free matchup. And yeah, I mean like I'm gonna be playing the deck, so fuck it. I'm gonna be fine. But God, I don't think it's good for the game.
I think it's pretty silly. Like even if I'm sitting here and saying like I don't think Sump Monument is particularly strong, I think this is like one of the biggest risks Riot could ever take with a card. Where like you are just praying to Jesus Christ himself that this card is not good. Because if it's good, it's fucking miserable. So
did you see the free build deck that is abusing Sump Monument?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are a little bit silly about that. People are like going deep in the weeds with like careful prep, and you can just play a Rek'Sai and pass the turn. It's like if you have no cards in your deck and you play Rek'Sai and you pass the turn, Rek'Sai shuffles at end of round, and like you just draw Rek'Sai and you replay it. And if your opponent can't remove Rek'Sai or Sump Monument, you just can't die. It's like
That's
2
really
card
funny,
combo,
actually.
and your opponent just cannot win the game unless they can remove one of these 2 items.
That's
Like I get really frustrated at the like free build people because like they sit there and they're like, I made this 5 card combo that makes you immortal, and it's like just fucking play Rek'Sai. Like I'm pretty sure the best free build deck right now is literally just these bullshit lurk decks that you've seen all the time that also just randomly like locks you out of the game. Where it's like, I'm playing lurk and I kill you on 4 because that's what free build lurk does. And if you're
So
like playing drop borders, get fucked. You lose.
So that was the deck you were talking about, or what?
No, I have an even more broken idea, but
Okay.
that one I have not found a kill condition yet for.
Bro, give me some fucking trophies, man. Ship me these lists. I've played 0 games of free build because it's so fucking cringe.
It's pretty cringe, but I don't know. People have bad ideas in free build, so
I'm gonna just insider knowledge you, fuck you. I'm gonna just insider knowledge you.
I mean, I'll just play the Demacia guy.
Oh, I'm still fine. Like you have Zerk, you have 1 card, right? So you're gonna die still.
I have 7 cards to fix this matchup. I have told you 3 of the cards in my deck.
Okay.
Like, I don't think people realize with free build that like the most valuable commodity you have is deck slots, because Jesus fucking Christ, I'm not playing more than 10. So
Yeah, like
Okay,
I'm
so
also playing on it, and I'm playing Joe Brothers. I'm playing the Insider Knowledge shit. Like I'm totally honest, dude.
no, he's just gonna. We play what, like triple counterfeit copies, and we just counterfeit our shit over and over. It's so free.
you probably play the unit because you probably want to play that Amasia 3-drop to like deal with all these like bullshit infinites, because like you can't discount below 3 as long as that guy's in play. So you just
Yeah.
put him in play and
Mhm.
you like play the like evil imperfectionist as your like copying card. But
And what I've heard is that Aftershock is the best card. I thought it was counterfeit copies, but no, Aftershock is the best card.
It's just Aftershock, yeah.
Aftershock is pretty
Aftershock's
good.
one of my-
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mage
It's
Seeker
fun.
Jr. Yeah, that one. Jesus. Yeah, no, I don't want to play that mode at all.
But yeah, let's get back. I guess back to the battle because we have some things we didn't touch yet.
Anything else? Yeah. What do we have to
Is
hit?
that something?
There's the new Shurima card. That's like it grants vulnerable on play now.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that a playable card?
No.
Maybe. Okay, so what about Powder Pandemonium plus the Crimson Pigeon? I'll be honest with you. I think that I think that Fizz Samira has been like a solid deck for a while. I think like Samira Jinx has been a solid deck for a while. I think it's fucking toxic that they took Powder Pandemonium out back, shot it in the head, and didn't even give it its vulnerable back. It's just
Yeah.
it's just 7 mana now. What the fuck?
So I definitely see this like thought process between Siren Song and Powder Pandemonium, where like you probably could have tried Siren Song to 5. I think you probably could have
Siren
done
Song
that.
would have still been good at 5.
So
I think it still would have been.
It
very
would have
good at
been
5.
good, but I think you could have done that. Riot, I definitely think had the thought process of like, if we nerf Siren Song to 5 and it's still good, people will be so pissed. We are not missing. And
Yeah.
I think Powder Pandemonium had much the same thought process. We're like, could you push it to 6? Could you give it its vulnerable back? Don't want to test the waters. Just nuke it. I'm
It's
honestly,
seven
People mind
fucking
Fish
mana,
Summer though, like
holy.
would people eat them if it was good again? I don't think. Like, I think Fish Summer was like kind of acceptable deck. I think like people started to kind of like it because it was that strong anymore. Like
I definitely think Powder Pandemonium didn't need it. I'm honestly surprised that Siren Song didn't go to 7, simply because they're like, no risks, delete the card for now. Like, we'll try and figure out how to get it like reasonable later. Like, just make sure it's dead.
Bro, if we can't beat 6 mana Siren Song, it's doomed. Like, if we can't beat that, I don't even know what to say.
yeah.
We gotta be able to beat 6 mana Siren Song. Copium.
Also, what we didn't touch, what do you think about the Athena changes? Because, for example, I think kind of like, especially I get like I get the Legionary change. Like, the change is gonna happen no matter what. Be not in the Athena format, so I'm fine with it happening. But what about like Plaza? Like, Plaza is still standard card. Why we can like mod early? Why don't we just wait the mod and like in mod nerf it before the Athena? Because, for example, like Summer Seraphine is a deck in standard. Why just kill it now? Like, why kill it now? Like, why just make it
So,
unplayable?
I think
shouldn't
the
we-
reason is, I don't know if this is like the happy reason. I think that the reason is because this patch didn't have a whole lot of changes in it.
Oh, okay.
And I think that they wanted to like fill out the changes. I think that it's fine to hit Eternal whenever. As far as like waiting till the last second. Like I don't think that they want the variety patch to be filled with a bunch of balance changes. And B, I think that there just weren't very many changes on this, so fuck it, ship the easy stuff for Eternal.
Yeah, I do think that's like the actual reason. I also think it's fine to say like some people do play Eternal. If you know you're gonna make the patch anyway, that change anyway. I think it's fine to just ship it a little bit early and be like, let's improve the whole Eternal experience for anybody still playing it. So
Yeah,
I
can see
really,
that, but
I really dislike sequestering like Eternal changes to only the Eternal patches and standard changes to only the standard patch, because like if you know you're gonna hit these cards and you know how you're gonna hit these cards, just ship it.
I think in general, I agree with you, though there is like an argument of like, it seems like LOR has limited resources as it is, whether it's dev time or money or whatever. So like when you see changes like this, it's like, damn, I wish that we could have seen a different change in its place. Right?
I
Like
don't
I could
think-
understand.
I don't think the optics are good, but I think that like thought process about what's going on here is just not correct. Like this like Legionary Charge and this Plaza Guardian nerf didn't come into place of other standard changes. They were just known
Yeah.
to happen.
I think that people
So,
will see like eternal changes, and it's like, why are we spending any time on eternal changes when?
Yeah, but I guess they were made between like maybe the opens, after first open, maybe they were just were already testing that, and I get it.
Yeah.
But like, set for the Plaza especially, I think like, yeah, I think just sad to maybe not have the deck now.
The base. Did we talk about Kaisa? I don't remember if we were live when
We
we
didn't
talked
talk about Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa's fucking unplayable. Don't play
It's
that card.
the best nerf I've seen in my entire life. Thank God. Riot, thank you. Holy
Man, okay,
fuck.
but like somebody in my chat like actually made an amazing change that I think should have happened more likely. Is that level 2 Kai'Sa still has quick attack? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, Kai'Sa is not, you cannot attack with Kai'Sa like after level, and like she's feeling so bad. I was playing her today, 2 games. I was like, my opponent play a unit like 7/7. I was like, I cannot attack. I cannot, like, I just lose. GG.
God forbid Kaisa have to worry about something being bigger than her. God forbid.
Yeah, my Kai'Sa's unplayable. The card
bro,
is dead.
I think that a lot of people, I saw a lot of people on Twitter especially, they're like, Kaisa nerf? Why did Kaisa get nerfed? And it tells me that nobody fucking played standard. Like the last standard after, like once we moved to Eternal, we played like Aegis for like 2 weeks, right? And we played like the meta was literally just Kaisa. Like it was like Kaisa and like Karma, and there was one other broken deck I don't remember.
We didn't play Kaisa in finals though, because we were expecting us expecting we were gonna bring it. So
I mean, this is just like Reddit and like the general community like just not understanding metas. I mean, I think the best one was like there was a guy who like really hates Karma. I know who he is on Reddit because I've interacted with him. This man was like trying to tell me that like Karma was the defining deck for like the entirety of the past standard metas, and it's like that would be Tristana, and then that would be Samira decks.
That's where
Karma is relevant. Like I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that like Karma's dog shit, but like Karma's set has never been top dog.
I think that there were arguments that Karma was like the best tournament deck at points, specifically for like Aegis with like matchup tables. I think you could make arguments. I don't think that like Karma was like ever remotely good on ladder. And B, I think that very often she was landing as like third best deck of a format. But she was third best deck of a format for like
Karma was certainly good. I don't want to try and argue that Karma was bad. It's just like there's this community perception that Karma is like the deck of metagames, and it's like that stone cold has never happened. Like Karma just hasn't been that. And like even if you're like trying to argue that like in the Tristana meta, like if you want to make the argument that like Karma was the best tournament deck, it still isn't the defining deck. It wasn't the deck that every deck sat there and was like, how is my Tristana matchup? How am I into Bilgewater Tristana? How am I into Demacia Tristana? Because those two matchups matter. I will see them constantly. And like Tristana definitely was that deck that just like centralized. Everybody started lineups with Tristana, and you had to find a reason to not play Tristana. So
I do think it's really funny though that a lot of the complaints about Karma are like Karma's holding back all these other control decks. You're not allowed to play control decks while Karma exists. It's so polarizing to control decks. But then you look and these people like really are just playing bad mid-range decks that can't end the game, and they're just upset that Karma punishes that. I think that Karma just really pisses off players that don't play good decks. More than anything, because she punishes you for not having a game plan.
I tried to make it more kind than how you're saying it, but I did have this opinion that like brews don't convincingly in games. Whenever someone's playing a brew, like they generally put enough value, they generally put enough late game, they generally put enough early game. And the problem with these decks is like they'll reach a favorable position on like turn 4 or 5. And like good decks will just like hang on by the skin of their teeth. And this deck just cannot end the game. It cannot put this opponent into the dirt. And like good decks don't have that problem. Like Samira Fizz, like, oh, you didn't have a fearsome blocker on turn 2? Well, I'm sorry, I'm connecting for 9. So you're just dead. Like the game is over on turn 2. I'm connecting with 2 fearsome units and like a Fizz in the air. We're just done here. And like this is just what every good deck does. Where it just like gains an advantage and is like, oh, you didn't like equalize immediately? Well, I've got I got an event to get to, so I'm gonna need you to get the fuck out of my game. And like,
Karma Palace is just these decks that like maybe taking too long, or like they're
um,
just not having that powerful thing, or they just like I don't know playing one unit, like powerful back in it, it's just gonna stun it, they call it, and that's I think that's just people like hate about it, and like it's just gonna be natural that Karma's gonna be always there in the deck. Also, I think like in a lower ranks when like people don't play like that optimally, then Karma has more time, and of course that's why Karma becoming better as well. And once
Also,
again, but I do just think that especially on like higher level, once again the set is the bigger proponent of Karma because set
yeah.
wins these games.
yeah, and it's the last card you saw before you died is the one that you care about. It's the reason why everyone hated Golden Aegis when like you lost the game like 2 turns ago when I used Ranger's Resolve
Yeah.
and like you couldn't kill my board.
Yeah, Ezreal, right?
Oh yeah, Ezreal's the issue. It definitely wasn't Seraphine or Bard. No, it's definitely Ezreal. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be clear, fuck Karma. I hate Karma. I think Karma was and like probably maybe is too good at like surviving through like matchups that she shouldn't have fucking game in. I fuck Karma. But at the same time, I think a lot of the complaints are just because people just play bad decks. And people just play bad decks, and like Karma doesn't let you play bad decks.
It's has to play Poro King though.
Okay, Poro King is a bad deck you're allowed to play in a Karma. That is a very no, that's fair. That's fair.
I will say, like, so there's definitely like mid-sized stats that Karma just doesn't care about, and you lose to her if you do it. If your stats do get large enough, Karma can no longer kill stuff, which is very funny to see. I was experiencing with the Warden of the Tribes, where like if you just have a board full of 17/17s, they're like, I actually can't kill this. It doesn't matter that my Hex Obliterator is doubled because that's still not enough. And it's just a very bizarre experience to watch Karma be like, I can't do anything.
Yeah, your best shot against that is, just bouncing your set 4 times and just showstopping everything and hoping, praying that that's enough. Yeah. No, fuck Karma. But like, yeah. The coin change, God, I wish that they had gone a different way about it. I think that the coins just feel bad now.
Coins don't make sense in Ionia. Like, they even like alluded to this in the interview of like they wanted to have coin be burst for like the Ionia coin thing because like Ionia really wants burst coin.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, Ionia coins just kind of don't make sense anymore. But I think it's fine simply because like we haven't really seen a whole lot of coin decks, so it's not hitting a whole lot of other stuff. And frankly, like Karma set needed to get deleted simply because like people hate it, and like we can find a different Ionia control deck. Karma set is just too bad in the PR department. Maybe we need to like pay MTalk to stop defending it and being a reply guy on Twitter because probably not doing positive for the PR department.
Bro, I need to start paying MTalks to be my reply guy on Twitter. I can't get into the trenches anymore. I need him to come and fucking play.
One of the best tweets I ever made was I made some hot take and I said, please refer all questions to my lawyer and added MTalk. It's just a fantastic tweet.
But let's be honest, like if there's a deck that's hated so much by the community, even though we maybe don't think that the deck is that good, I think it just should be getting hit. So like the community just enjoys the game more, right? Like,
I would point to Timeline's Ledros. Do you guys remember that deck?
Yeah.
That deck was
bad.
Dog shit. Like 40% win rate, unplayable nonsense.
Yeah, but if you're playing like bad decks that can't interact or don't have a
can hash, can venture, can Aikado, can't. I don't know.
Them having an auto win on turn 9, it do be
60% of the time, don't oversell it. Like,
okay, well, yeah, sometimes they had to try again. I mean, it's definitely annoying, right? And I think that's fair. I wish that they'd gone a different way about nerfing Karma. I think that like a big thing would be making it so that tag out will fucking fizzle and not give you extra coins.
Yeah.
Or nerf the heal card. But like I think those are like less flashy and less exciting changes. Reddit will look at it and be like, well, this isn't enough. But
man, I saw people like Siren Song that it's not enough. Siren Song is still gonna be the best decks. I was like, no, come on. Like
these motherfuckers have never played a fucking 6-mana spell in their life. 6 mana do nothing. Holy.
You summon Husks. What you mean do nothing?
Yeah,
If you hit Spell Shield, you might tilt your opponent into conceding.
actually true. Actually true. No, Siren
Nice.
Song, like, even if Siren Song was like good enough at 6 mana, it like devalues second and third Siren Song so badly. You can never play 2 Siren Songs in a game. Just not possible.
I don't just believe this card. Like, yeah, maybe it's gonna be one of it. Like, I think it's Evelyn card deck. And it's, for example, I think like the change should have been honest like 5 mana, but only Husk. So it's just actually like only Evelyn card. I think that might be better because like then we're gonna helping the Evelyn. But I guess they were maybe scared of that as well because they just wanted to get rid of the card, I think, and just make it
The
6.
issue is
And
that like the Evelyn Diana card already only ran like one set of 1-drops. It was the Lifesteal guy, right? So like that change, like I don't know if it's enough to kill that deck. But
So I think the Evelyn Diana deck was like by far the most tolerable Siren Song deck. Like
it
I'm
was
not
the
gonna,
easiest to beat. Yeah, for sure.
I also felt like it
Yeah.
was clearly like attackable in the way these like Fizz ones weren't. Like one of the problems that I had with like the Fizz one was like you would like sit there and be like, okay, I'm gonna play like Denies and Aftershocks and like Karma set, or like I'm gonna be playing the Landmark Destruction guy in my Jin deck, my Jin Vandal City control deck, to be clear. And like they would just be like 1-drop, 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 beat your ass, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, I have to be holding up like Denies and Aftershocks for Reaver Rose and Siren Songs, and they just like flood 1-drops and attack you. And you're like,
and that's stuff that's just like face Wincon, right? And that's like you
yeah.
know, prepaid for example the Gadjin, UX face, haha.
Yeah, I mean, even like Karma, like the way to win it as Karma is you had to like jam a bunch of Forge Chiefs into your deck, and then like you Oracle on 4, and like when you Oracle on 4, like suddenly you're safe. You know, you're allowed to like spend mana again. But if you don't have your Oracle, or if you don't hit 9, they just like jam it on 3. It's like fuck me. I guess I lose the game. Yeah. Oracle's a really good card though. Oracle's really good.
Yeah, I think it's like going where I was like kind of expected it. The like Siren Song situation like justified it more in these control decks, but like if you're playing an Ionia deck and you're interested in attacking, card's good. So you're
It's
not
just a good card, and like there's funny interactions. I was playing it against Aatrox Kane in the tournament this weekend, and like I play Oracle and it tells me the opponent has second Kane in hand. I'm like, good to know, thank you. But yeah, no, it's I think it's just a solid card.
Other things like that's been really interesting on ladders, like playing Oracle and like finding out if your opponent's playing like specific techs, or like if your opponent's playing Freljord and you play it and you don't see Buried in Ice, you're like, oh, don't need to worry about that card.
Yeah, and like even if you do, like you hit it and it's like still don't need to worry about that card.
Yeah, well, just tap out until 1 mana, right?
Surely. Yeah, no, I think it's a very solid deck, or a very solid card. I think that like it'll have trouble finding a deck. You know, maybe the deck is like Shen Jarvan, maybe it's like some mid-range set pile. Wherever we end up, I think that like Oracle is just like a good card.
It's
I think
definitely
that
solid.
its biggest issue. I think its biggest issue in Karma is that there are like 6 other 4-drops that you want to be running. You know, it's the Heal Lady and then Clockling. But like I think Oracle is just a good card that you want to make room for.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely think we would see it, and like the champion that I think just like absolutely loves this card is Zed. A Zed deck just kind of doesn't exist right now, but like if a Zed deck is ever good, Oracle is going to be good in that deck.
Consider.
Yeah, maybe Zed Poppy comes back. Poppy's a 3/3, right?
Yeah.
Still, yeah.
We forgot about that. I guess it's Eternal, so yeah.
Yeah, it's Eternal. What if we unrotate Poppy? And Twisted Fate.
Not do that.
TF down. I'm down for TF. Give us
I just want
Zoe.
TF back, bro.
What about Zoe, Aphelios, TF?
Bro, I was like, oh my god, what happened to that Nami Varus deck? God, I want to play Nami. And I'm like, oh wait, Momentous Choice got fucking murked. I wish we had
Nami got murdered.
Baya, you want Zoe back?
Yes.
Like the elusive champion? Like just spam buffs?
I want Counter Zoe. I want this. Okay, give us Lee Sin and Zoe, but come on.
Give us Zoe, but you're not allowed to play any other elusives in your entire deck. That's it.
On like Sparkle Fire, maybe just like to give the level up Zoe, do life steal, and elusive. I like
Oh,
that.
we're
I
giving
do hope
elusive Sparklefly too? Wow, you're so kind.
I do really hope that the variety set ends up with variety options, build around cards, something extra. Because right now I feel like standard has this issue where, especially with Karma getting gutted, Seraphine's just bad, and like there aren't a whole lot of like Spellslinger types. There's not a whole lot of the archetypes that I really enjoy just feel completely unplayable in standard, and it's depression right now. We're just like in a mid-range hell, and like I could play mid-range decks. I played mid-range decks before. I've won tournaments with Aatrox and Sivir and Shen Jarvan. Like I could play these mid-range decks, but fuck me, I like having options available, and I feel like that isn't the case right now.
The Nami situation is like incredibly frustrating to me. I'm like sitting here, I'm like, okay, this champion's dead, which is fair. Like she was fucked up. Understand the nerf. But like, you're not gonna buffer. I know that. You know that.
You know that.
And like, I don't know. It was like there was some dev stream. It wasn't the most recent one, but they were like, we leave cards like Nami in standard to like fill the curve. And I was like, you don't play Nami on 3.
It's for they want to keep the spell slinging archetype alive.
Like it can be
Yeah.
alive. I understand it. Like you want to keep Spellslinger alive, but like Nami doesn't do anything. That champion is dead. Like
I do. I feel like one of the champions between Nami, Karma, and Seraphine. I know everyone hates these champions, but I want one of them to be playable at like all times in standard, because they're just, their decks are a lot more fun than like a lot of the other things that we are allowed to be doing. I don't know. I wish that there was. It feels like there's a lot of like samey decks and a lot of samey vibes in these metas. Whether it's Tristana or whatever. And I would like options to be playing spell decks.
I do not think.
I think that's.
I do not think this rotation went particularly well. I'd really point to like the state of Shurima, where like I made a funny tweet about it, where it's like you removed Absolver, and like that is like 80% of viable Shurima decks are just dead. Like they do not exist without Absolver. You can play Nasus Vaults. You could play Sundisk, but we rotated Zereth, so you can't play Sundisk. So like that's what we got. You want to play Akshan? You don't have Absolver. Terrible. You want to play Nidalee? You don't have Absolver. Terrible. You want to play like Ziggs? Got rotated. You want to play Talia? Doesn't have Absolver. Terrible.
We have Echo. It's PNC.
Doesn't have Absolver. So like significantly worse. Although Echo is like playable. You can play Lurk.
Fuck Echo, man. I had Echo so much, man.
How do you feel about Lurk?
RNG.
Like, what is Shurima doing in this game?
Bro, you know what I want back? I want fucking Nox Control back. And not this fucking Swain Alawi bullshit where we're just like trying to curve out Alawi. I want actual Nox Control back. Like, please.
Yeah. We have Kai'Sa. Wait, we don't have Kai'Sa anymore, I guess. Okay, never mind.
We did have Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa was a Shurima.
Yeah. That was the Demacia, let's be honest. Like, shit, that was Demacia, it's not Shurima.
I feel like a lot of the archetypes that I've enjoyed in the past just like got rotated, and like the ones that survived are just like eating nerfs, like patch after patch after patch. And it really does feel like we're left with just like mid-range, which is fine. Like I can play mid-range stuff, right? Like I'm not going to complain every time I have to play a mid-range deck. But at some point I want archetypes that I like back,
Yeah. Like the Spellslingers are instant, like they're good for a month, they're instantly getting gutted. But these things like Jackson, Ilawi, Swain, they just tank, and like nobody cares, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, man. If it's a fucking unit that's killing you, then that's like attacking you, people just don't care, I guess. Like Jax Ord. I mean, I don't know. Jax Ord hasn't been like that good for very long, but I feel like Aatrox has been good for a long time. I like Aatrox though.
Aatrox is cool.
But it does feel like I feel like when some of these cards are really good, again, it's like Nami and Seraphine and Karma and like even like flock decks or whatever, like these types of decks, when they're good, it feels like there's like a ton of complaints about them, and I don't know, it's just
I feel like this complaint has some merit And I'd actually point to like a specific thing of like 2 mid-range board-based decks, and one of them got nerfed, and I think both justified a nerf. Do you remember when like it was after Worlds and Aatrox Vayne was like clearly needing a nerf, and Aatrox Kane also clearly needed a nerf. Vayne needed one more, but like we nerfed only Aatrox Vayne. And you were like, so the Demacia one that has like play to it, some scout units, tumbles, various equipments, interaction, not allowed. The one that like you basically can't int when you're building the deck because there literally aren't cards to int with. You're allowed to play that one. And you're like, man, Aatrox Kane was like one of my least favorite decks of all time because like, I mean, what's the worst thing you can do? Play Ballcocks? Like
I think
Based?
I think eventually we got to a point where there was a lot of play, especially in like mirrors and shit. But yeah, fuck Aatrox Kane. That shit was just it was a training wheels deck, man. It literally did everything it could to take every bit of fucking decision making out of your hands.
I mean, it's not so much that like the deck was dumb because I didn't like it, but like if it and Aatrox Vayne existed at the same time for the same period of time, I would be like, okay, that's fine. It was the fact that it was like Aatrox Vayne is doing well? Absolutely not. Aatrox Kane? That shit can stay. You're like, bruh, like, can we have the interesting one around for a little bit longer?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. The other thing is like even the interesting like mid-range decks like Aatrox, like I like Aatrox. Aatrox is a fun deck. I feel like there's a lot of play on both sides most of the time. Sometimes it just runs you over, but in general I like Aatrox. But like how the fuck do you play Aatrox in an Ornn meta? Like where the fuck does Aatrox fit into an Ornn
You
meta?
just ban him, man. But by the way, I have to like I don't like we are shitting like on these decks, but on this meta, I'm having so much fun. When I was playing in the Siren Song meta, I was like, holy, I don't want to play. But now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be streaming today. Holy, I'm so looking forward for that because even though it's Jackson, I don't mind playing against that. I don't mind playing against Ella, it's fine. I don't mind playing against even the elusives. Sure, maybe sometimes tactics some feminine, but like it's fine. I'm down to play. I'm excited to play the game, I guess.
So I think some of this is the meta is like better, but I don't think the meta is great. I think the meta is like just kind of average, but we're coming off like probably the worst meta of all time. So like it's real good in comparison.
A lot better. I think that like as a content creator, it feels like there's not enough new shit. Like I'm trying out all the new stuff, and I think it's pretty bad. So I'm just gonna fall back to like playing, normal decks, and like which is fine. But it is a little bit like boring.
Feels
Like I
bad.
feel
Like,
bad
yeah.
when I queue up like Jace Heimer or something. I feel bad because it's like nobody wants to watch this. But
Yeah.
we're falling back to those types of decks. I think.
Yeah, you're streaming and you're like, you playing some deck. I play like JSI Max. I play like you're like we could have watched this a year ago, right? Like this matchup, like and like then like and like the viewers want to watch the new stuff, but and also then you meet the new stuff, but because they are bad, you just beat them and like it's like it's not like it's just not
I have like
entertaining.
a 30% win rate on Gnar, and like I'm playing Gnar Freljord, and it's like I'm getting a little bit frustrated because I get no interaction. I'm like, fuck, dude, I don't want to play this shit. And then everyone's like, okay, we'll just go play something else. But there's nothing new to play.
Yeah.
But no, overall, I think the meta's like going to be fine. It's just first couple days of patch, it just feels bad to play like old shit, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, I should probably call it there. So
Sounds good.
Hey, bye, YouTube.